In exactly 28 days, something is happening that has millions of Social Security beneficiaries watching the calendar with genuine concern. And I'm not talking about your COLA increase or a new payment schedule. I'm talking about something that could affect every single person receiving benefits, whether that's retirement, SSDI, survivor's benefits, spousal benefits, SSI, VA, or RRB. If you're living on any kind of fixed income benefit right now, what's coming at the end of this month matters more than you might think. Here's what's going on. The government funding extension that lawmakers passed back in mid-November, it expires January 30th. That's 28 days from now. And if you remember what happened in October and the first half of November, the 43-day government shutdown, the longest in U.S. history, you know exactly why people are concerned. A lot of you were hurt by that situation. Benefits got delayed. People didn't know how they'd buy groceries. It was a mess. So the big question everyone's asking is, are we about to go through that nightmare all over again? And more importantly, what does it mean for your benefits this time? I'm going to walk you through exactly what's happening, what lawmakers have actually done since they reopened the government, and the one critical detail that changes everything compared to last time. Let's start with the facts. When the government shut down for 43 days, from early October through mid-November, it wasn't just an inconvenience. For millions of people relying on benefits like SNAP food stamps, it was a crisis. Benefits got delayed. Payments didn't go out on time. People who were already living paycheck to paycheck suddenly didn't know where their next meal was coming from. It was rough, and I'm not going to pretend I know exactly what that felt like for everyone. Because the truth is, everybody experienced it differently. Some people had savings to fall back on. Others really struggled. When lawmakers finally came back and passed an extension in mid-November, they didn't solve the problem long-term. They kicked the can down the road. That extension funds the government through January 30th, which is a Friday. The very next day, January 31st, which happens to be a Saturday, we're technically back in shutdown territory unless Congress does something before then. So here's the reality check. We're 28 days away from that deadline, and what have lawmakers done since mid-November? They've gone on vacation. Multiple times. Multiple weeks worth of vacation. And beyond that, not much. They haven't passed the long-term appropriations bills needed to keep the government funded through the end of the fiscal year, which is September 30th, 2026. When they come back into session in the next few days for 2026, they're going to have a massive pile of work sitting on their desks, and only a few weeks to get it done before the deadline hits. Based on what I've been reading and what we've seen from lawmakers over the last month and a half, the likelihood of going into another government shutdown at the end of January is very high. I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying it because that's where things stand right now. Now here's the question that matters most. If we do go into another shutdown on January 31st, and maybe it lasts into February or even March, what happens to your benefits? This is where things are different from last time, and this is the detail you need to understand. Back in mid-November, when lawmakers passed that short-term funding extension, they actually included 3 long-term appropriations that go all the way through the end of the fiscal year. One of those was for the SNAP food stamp program. That means the food stamp program is fully funded through September 30th, 2026, regardless of whether the government shuts down or not. Let me say that again because it's important. If we go into a government shutdown on January 31st, there will not be a lapse in food stamp benefits this time. You will not see a repeat of what happened in November. Your SNAP benefits will continue. No delays, no disaster. The money will still go out on schedule. That's a huge difference compared to the last shutdown. During that 43-day mess, food stamp benefits stopped because the program wasn't funded. This time, it is. So even if the government shuts down at the end of January and stays shut down for weeks, your food stamps are protected. Now, I do need to mention one thing, and I'm not trying to add unnecessary worry here. I just want you to have the full picture. The long-term funding for food stamps runs through September 2026. If we somehow end up in another government shutdown in October or November of this year, and it drags into mid-November again, we could potentially see another lapse in benefits at that point. But that's a long way off. We have no idea what lawmakers will do between now and then. And honestly, I don't think we'll see a shutdown in October or November anyway, because that's right before the midterm elections. Shutting down the government a month before a major election would be terrible politics, and even lawmakers know that. But for now, for the end of January, you don't need to worry about your food stamps. That part is handled. What about other benefits? Social Security Retirement, SSDI, SSI. Those programs operate a little differently. Social Security benefits are considered mandatory spending, which means they're not subject to the annual appropriations process in the same way discretionary programs are. Historically, Social Security payments have continued during government shutdowns because the Social Security Administration has the authority to keep processing them. So your monthly Social Security check should still arrive on schedule even if the government shuts down. Same goes for veterans, benefits, and railroad retirement benefits. Those programs have their own funding mechanisms that generally aren't interrupted by shutdowns. The programs that do get affected during a shutdown are the ones that rely on discretionary funding and don't have automatic appropriations in place. That's why food stamps were such a problem during the October to November shutdown. They didn't have the long-term funding at that time. Now they do. So to sum up where we are, yes, we're likely heading into another government shutdown in 28 days. Yes, it could last for weeks, just like last time. But no, it won't have the same impact on food stamp benefits because those are already funded through September. And no, your Social Security payments shouldn't be affected either. Here's what I think is really frustrating about all of this. We just went through a 43-day shutdown that caused real hardship for millions of people. Lawmakers saw what happened. They saw the panic, the delays, the families struggling to put food on the table. And their response was to pass a short-term fix that only lasts 2.5 months. They had 2.5 months to figure out long-term funding. 2.5 months to avoid putting everyone through this stress again. And instead, they went on vacation. Multiple times. And now here we are, 28 days out, staring down the barrel of another shutdown. The good news is that they at least had the sense to include long-term funding for food stamps in that November bill. That was the right move, and it's going to protect a lot of people this time around. But the fact that we're even in this position again, the fact that we're counting down days until the government runs out of money, shows you how dysfunctional the process has become. And look, I'm not here to get political or point fingers at one party or another. Both sides have a role in this. The point is that the people who rely on these benefits shouldn't have to live with this kind of uncertainty every few months. You shouldn't have to worry about whether your food stamps are coming or whether Congress is going to get its act together in time. But that's the reality we're dealing with. So let's bring this all together. In 28 days, the government funding extension expires, and we're very likely heading into another shutdown. It could last days, it could last weeks. Nobody knows for sure. But here's what you need to remember. Your SNAP food stamp benefits are fully funded through September 30th, 2026. There will be no lapse, no delay, no repeat of what happened in November. The long-term appropriation is already in place, so even if the government shuts down, your benefits continue. Your Social Security payments, whether that's retirement, SSDI, survivors, or SSI, should also continue without interruption. Those are considered mandatory spending, and historically they've kept going during shutdowns. Same goes for VA benefits and railroad retirement. Those programs have their own funding structures that aren't typically affected by government shutdowns. Is it annoying that we're back in this situation again? Absolutely. Should lawmakers have handled this better over the last 2.5 months? Without question. But at least this time, the programs that hit people hardest during the last shutdown are protected. If you were one of the people who struggled during October and November, I want you to know that you won't have to go through that again, at least not this time around. The protections are in place, your benefits are safe. And I'll keep tracking everything that happens with Congress over the next few weeks so you're never left in the dark about what's going on. If this video helped clear things up for you, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you want to stay updated on everything happening with Social Security, SSDI, SSI, food stamps, or any other benefit, especially with how wild 2026 is shaping up to be. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I'm here for you, and I'll keep breaking down exactly what's happening and what it means for your benefits. Drop your questions or comments down below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.